time. My name is Ken Shaw. I'm the CEO of SOS. And today's webinars are one in an ongoing series of webinars that we do here at SOS pretty much every week, focusing on the online backup market and specifically SOS's partnership program. So the target audience for today's webinar is really IT service companies, VARs, MSPs, ISPs, software vendors, anybody who's in the business of selling IT products or services who would be looking to add online backup as an additional product or service line to their existing product and service line for sale to their customers. The webinar format will be a brief company overview followed by a brief look at the backup industry, and then we'll look at the SOS technology stack specifically, and then the partnership program and how it works. We'll do Q&A throughout the webinar as well as at the end. We generally find that the best use of the questions and answers tool in the software is really to ask questions as we're going along and to get as much of a free-flowing discussion going as possible. So please do use that. Don't be shy. If you've got questions that you'd like to have addressed, please you can ask them starting right now. So particularly if there are particular topics that you're interested in hearing about, and we can try and make sure we tailor the presentation to meet the needs of the audience. Okay, great. We've got a few people typing in topics they'd like to hear more about already. And then the Kindle giveaway, we have a draw. We will be giving away a Kindle to one member of the audience today, and we'll give out the details for the Kindle promotion at the end of the webinar. All right. So just a brief background on SOS. We presume that if you're at today's webinar, then you're at least somewhat familiar with who we are and what we do. As our name suggests, SOS Online Backup, we're very much focused on the cloud backup and online backup industry and have been since our inception. Yeah, we've been around for some time now, founded originally in Australia back in 2001. We're now headquartered in the United States with operations around the world, including in Europe and Asia and India, and here in the United States. More than 150 employees. We often get a question about how long have we been around, how large a firm are we. So these statistics are just by way of answering those questions. More than 3 million customers have used the SOS product since we launched it. So quite a large network. By any of those metrics, we're one of the largest online backup vendors in the market, perhaps the third or fourth largest online backup company. And this last point, we're growing at 300% since April 2009. That's really not a comment about us as much as it's a comment about our partners. More than 80% of SOS's revenue comes from our partners. So when we talk about our growth, we're really talking about the success of our partners. And we only succeed if you succeed. So we're very much motivated to make sure that your entry into the online backup market is as successful as possible. In terms of where we focus in the market, there are some companies who are very heavily consumer-focused or perhaps enterprise-focused. Where we really focus is the small business sector, and that can be anything from a micro business of, say, 2 or 3 people up to several hundred people, up to, say, 300 or 400 people. That's really our core focus. We do have solutions that are tailored for home users, and we do have solutions that are tailored for the enterprise. But our core business is selling to SMBs, or more specifically, working with VARs and MSPs and our partners who then sell to small businesses. And this slide really captures what it is that we're all about. We take all of SOS's technology and infrastructure and capability as represented on the left hand of this slide. We then run that through your business. What I mean by that is your branding, your positioning, the way you package your products and services. We work with you to come up with custom pricing and positioning for your product so that you can launch your own branded online backup solution, the goal of which is, of course, to drive incremental revenue for your business that you can earn at a high margin with a recurring revenue base from selling backup as a managed service to your clients. Here on the screen, you can see a couple of examples of the type of white labeling work that we do here at SOS. We'll see other examples of this later in the presentation, and you can actually call in and get a free mock-up where we will mock up certain screens and marketing materials for you and give you fully, actually production-ready marketing slicks that you can use even prior to becoming a partner. So that's, I think, a very useful service, and certainly it's very popular. So if you're interested in getting a mock-up and seeing what your business's backup solution call in, talk to one of our partner specialists, and request a mock-up. Okay, so we'll turn briefly and look at the backup industry that's existed. We believe that it's important to understand where we've come from to really understand the transition that's underway to online backup. So just briefly, and I'm going to talk in some broad generalizations here, we look at the backup market as being separated between consumers, small businesses, and enterprises. Generally in the consumer space, there has not been a standard for backup. Most consumers don't back up regularly. Certainly they don't back up off-site. Where they have, it's usually been a hardware play, and often very rudimentary, burning stuff to CDs, DVDs, taking them off-site, perhaps using thumb drives or external hard disk drives. There's really been no standard, and there's been no off-site backup. So the market opportunity selling to home users here is really about providing them with a super simple backup service that they can set and forget. And we're not really competing with any other backup technology. The challenge there is actually getting them to do what they know they should do. They know they should back up. They just simply do not. In the small business space, it's a little bit different. Most small businesses do have some form of backup strategy. It may not be a good one. It may not actually meet all of their business requirements. It may be expensive, but there's generally some form of backup in place. Where there is backup in place, it's usually architected around hardware, software, and labor. We'll talk a lot more about that labor component in coming slides. The hardware is usually tape or disk. Tape is by far the most popular and common and has been for nearly 30 years now. Software is then some sort of software agent which will automate the backup jobs and work with that hardware, whether it's a tape library or just hardware as simple as NAS devices on the network. And then the labor. With few exceptions, nearly all backup solutions used by small businesses over the last 10 years have been very labor intensive. They've involved a lot of time to deploy, to configure, to run, to manage, and to recover from. And that labor component is one of the biggest hidden costs associated with traditional backup technologies. Online backup automates all of that and completely removes the labor piece. We're going to talk more about that. But it's a very important part of looking at the total cost of ownership. So when we're selling into the small business space, generally we are replacing some other sort of technology. Most often we're competing against tape backup or disk backup. So it's understanding the benefits of online backup compared to those technologies that's crucial for the sale. In the enterprise, at a high level, it's similar to the lay of the land when we talk about small businesses, in that it's a hardware, software, labor play. But in enterprise, we're usually talking about much more expensive pieces of hardware, much more expensive pieces of software, and very, very expensive labor components, often from professional external consultants who specialize in disaster recovery. So the total cost of ownership benefits of moving to online backup are the most pronounced when we look at enterprise and the amount of money that enterprise customers can save by moving to the cloud. And of course, when we're talking about online backup or cloud-based backup or backup SaaS, software as a service, we still have the same core components, the software, the hardware, the services, and the support, but it's all wrapped up in a very simple to deploy and use and pay for subscription model. We deliver all of that over the wire with set and forget software. And what we're seeing is a massive shift in the industry. So tape backup sales have declined rather steeply. A recent survey has shown that the tape backup hardware market shrunk from $2.5 billion to $1.5 billion in just a 2-year span. That trend's to continue. We're going to see the tape backup market really recede into being representative of a legacy technology. So where are all these people moving to spend to? Well, the short answer is the cloud in various forms. So a recent survey by CTO Edge magazine actually puts the number of CTOs and CIOs who've made the decision to move backup load to the cloud at more than 70%, planning on moving some or all of their backup load to the cloud. And that gave rise to a great quote from one of our existing partners, which I highlight here at the bottom. Greg said, if we don't sell our customers a cloud-based backup solution, someone else will, so why not us? And that's really my challenge to you here today, everybody in the audience. Why aren't you selling a backup solution to your customers? An online backup solution to your customers. Because if you don't, you're going to lose those customers. They will adopt online backup with you or without you. And God forbid they should go to your competitor up the street or perhaps with a public cloud vendor like Mozy. What we focus on doing is enabling you to capture that revenue stream from your existing customers. So I've talked about the cost benefits of online backup. Just putting some numbers to that, this is a case study that we did with one of our customers who moved across for a tape solution to us. And the total cost of the tape solution was $6,146, whereas for the same amount of data, this was a small office with 6 or 7 people in it, the total cost for online backup was $1,000, so it's literally a sixth of the cost. Over a 5-year period, the cost of just the hardware and the software on tape was $9,000. Now that doesn't include the labor component, which we estimate is as much as 100% of the hard cost. So total true cost here might have been as much as $17,000, $18,000. The total 5-year cost with online backup, only $5,000. So you're looking at less than 50% in terms of the hard costs associated with the solution, and much lower than 50% when you factor in all the soft costs as well, the labor component. But then let's look at the margin to the reseller, to you. If we're slashing the cost of the product, doesn't that mean you make less money? The answer is no. It actually means you make more money. So on hardware solutions, typical reseller margins is single digit. So on that $6,100 sale, the margin to the partner was about $500. With online backup, the margin is closer to 50%, which is an extremely healthy margin for IT products and services. So in this case, the resellers got a contract to make $500 per year, every year in a recurring model, for a total compensation of $2,500 compared to $500. So online backup really is better for everybody in the supply chain. It's much better for the end user, the customer, and it's much better for the IT reseller. And then in terms of the technology benefits, and we bill online backup as a better backup at a better price. Some of the technology benefits, when we look at them from these different perspectives. Deployment, online backup software as a service, you set and forget it, it's easy to deploy, no IT staff required, very simple. Coverage, hardware-based backups has traditionally been done an appalling job of backing up distributed data, whether that's laptop fleets or branch offices or user or remote workers. The centrally architected hardware on-premises solutions have never done a good job of dealing with that. Whereas with online backup, all of those devices are covered. Every device that's got an internet connection is connected to the backup cloud. So laptops, workstations, mobile devices, they're all protected. Media, of course, there is no media with online backup. Recovery, anybody who's recovered from a tape-based backup will tell you it can be a 3 or 4 day process to do a total environment restore. Whereas with online backup, you literally have a recovery window that's measured in minutes. So the recovery can be delegated to users, and users can take care of their own recovery in real time. Security, some of the most embarrassing data loss events over the last few years have been because of misplaced media, misplaced backup media, specifically tapes. Online backup uses encryption standards generally across the industry that are similar to online banking, using government and military levels of encryption to protect your data end-to-end. So you've got much higher levels of security. From an access perspective, you've got immediate access to your data. From a management perspective, online backup is very, very easy to manage. It's generally the management of it automated. So from an overall cost standpoint, as we saw on the previous slide, the cost of online backup is dramatically lower than the cost of traditional